What's going on, everybody? Welcome to One Shot Presents. I'm Tiger. That's a baby. What we got going on today is we're here on set for Brick and Tiger versus the Confederate Army, which we have to apologize that our episodes are coming out a little slower. We've been focusing on these, the trilogy, the Holy Trilogy. But we're going to jump right into the reviews with this stocking stuffer, Super Spy by Matt Kindt. Now, this falls under the category of all the books I've been reading lately, which is they're just great reads for anybody. You don't have to be a comic book fan. You don't have to be a spy thriller fan. This book is built so that anybody can pick it up and enjoy it. The writing is I would say probably the weaker aspect of it, but this art is just amazing. And it really is what made the book for me. It's really fun. It's about some World War II era spies, and it's pretty realistic as far as how they go about espionage. It's not James Bond with like laser wristwatches or anything. It's more like the original James Bond, like the Dr. No from Russia with Love type stuff. So it's really cool. But it was nominated for an Eisner. We actually interviewed Matt Kindt. We lost the footage. Sorry, but check it out. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. So some of you probably know this, but David Mack was recently at the Salt Lake Library. He had a gallery, and we got a chance to look at it with him. So check this out. Say hi. All right, it's a real special treat for us. He's been on the show several times, but we're actually having a nice sit down here in the Salt Lake Library. David Mack's on the show. Thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Right on. So you got your gallery. We're going to go through that a little bit later, but tell me a little bit about like what your process is. I mean, like your artistic works here are pretty diverse as far as the style of them, the mediums that you use. How do you approach a piece and decide what you're going to do?
Well, for this, because it's all it's a narrative. It's a story. I always start with the script first. Anytime I'm doing anything in book form, whether it's a children's book, comic book, a graphic novel, a handmade book, I'm thinking of myself as a storyteller first. So especially with kabuki or comics, I spend a lot of time getting the script just right, and I'll rewrite it. So essentially, I'm really thinking of myself as a writer first, and I try to find a way to use the art as another tool in the arsenal of the writing, essentially. In the same way that you might, as a writer, think, is this story most powerfully told in first person or third person as one of your writing choices? Now that I have this visual approach at my disposal, I can think, is this story best told in this color, or in this color, or in this pace or rhythm of storytelling with this many panels, with this, what kind of medium is best going to tell this scene versus how will it contrast with another scene? So really it just opens up my opportunities as a writer, because I'm the artist myself, and I don't have to feel like it always has to look a certain way every time. And I can just really put that in service to the story, and it gives me a pretty wide approach as to what angle I can approach every scene from.
So yeah, speaking about writing though, I just finished reading Alchemy. I think most of the pieces in here are from that book. It's pretty philosophical, at least that's what I kind of took from it, and it's not preachy or obnoxious. It just seems like it's kind of, hey, here's my philosophy, take it or leave it. I mean, am I reading that correctly? Is that what the intent was? And if so, how did you approach it as a writer and not be some kind of jerk who's just cramming all of your beliefs down the reader's throat and make it very approachable?
Yeah, I like how you said that. What's in this room are the first 3 chapters that are in the Alchemy collection, essentially the first three issues of like a 9-chapter story in there. And yeah, I wanted it to be in continuity with the story that's happening, but the character kind of finds himself in a different place than they did earlier in the story, and essentially they find themselves in a place that a lot of people can relate to, that sort of place that some people might find themselves after they graduate college or high school, or in a transition between jobs, or right, between marriages, or where they think like, I was trained, or I was brought up to look at things this way, and I thought I was going to do this, or once I've done this and accomplished that and got out of this, now what do I do? Now that I've got this degree, and now how do I make this work? How do I find what my role is in this world, if they don't know that already, and what are practical ways for finding that? And when they do know, or once you know, what are practical applications for really making that happen? Not just philosophical ideas or, not just the power of positive thinking, but the power of positive doing,
Right.
Something infinitely more important where, you want to get your hands on it and make it happen. So, at this point, I've been doing kabuki for about 15 years, and when you have to keep up and do that, I want to operate on my optimal state when I'm making it. I don't want it to be like, I'm really tired, but I have to do this story or this book anyway. I want to feel like whenever I'm doing it at peak level of performance. Right. So over those years, I've found certain principles that work for me to to tap into the best creative approach that I can and try to feel like I'm on my A game when I'm doing it. And in retrospect, I was also able to kind of see like, how did I figure those out through trial and error, and how did I sort of find this niche for myself to make this, to be able to do that. And I kind of, reverse engineer that to a certain way and kind of encrypt some of those principles in the context of the story. Mm-hmm. And essentially what I've done is I have a few different characters that have very strong points of view. Like they each come from a very specific point of view, and put them up against each other and have them discussing their points of view to one another. And I'm always interested in that. I find that's very fascinating. So I don't really feel like it's me preaching anything in terms of the story, and I'm glad you said that. I wanted anything that someone gets out of it, I want it to be helpful and useful on a practical level, not something that is only theory.
All right, if you're looking for another stocking stuffer, the Star Trek DVD just came out, the new movie. Check out IDW's Star Trek Volume 2 Omnibus. This is a lot of fun. What's awesome is IDW is reprinting all these old Star Trek issues. This is a Marvel run that takes place. It's called Early Voyages. It talks about Captain Pike and Mr. Spock and their adventures on the Enterprise before Kirk. I loved this when it came out, and so I was really excited they collected all the issues into one volume. One of the beefs I have, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5, but one of my beefs is it does seem like the color transfer is a little crappy. So, I mean, if you're really involved with color and stuff like that, maybe you don't want to get this, but any Star Trek fan would love this. It's very well written, and it's a lot of fun. Again, 5 out of 5. Well, that's our show. Thanks for watching. We want you to stay tuned, though, because we got Brick and Tiger versus Confederate Army, or How They Saved Santa Claus, coming up real soon. But we want to thank our sponsor, Night Flight Comics. You going to say anything this episode? No? Whatever. Anyways, check out ComicSense.com and Night Flight Comics, greatest comic book store in the world. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys next time.